9 proofs that they only want you when you no longer want them. Stoicism. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Seneca. Have you ever noticed how the moment you decide to let go, to focus on your own path, suddenly they want you more than ever? It's as if, in the instant you reclaim your power and walk away, they are hit with a jolt of regret, realizing what they've lost. They start craving your presence, obsessing over you like you're the only thing that matters. It's a striking reminder of how our value becomes crystal clear when we remove ourselves from those who took us for granted. But here's the truth, my fellow Stoic warriors at Stoic in Your Life. This isn't just some random coincidence. This is the inevitable consequence of focusing on your own growth, of stepping back and allowing them to feel the void your absence creates. When you turn your energy inward, they are left to confront the stark reality of what they've lost. And that, my friends, is the power of Stoicism in action, detaching from those who fail to see your worth until it's too late. The greatest power is often found in the quiet of self-mastery, where your silence speaks louder than words. Epictetus. As the saying goes, don't chase, let them realize they need you, not the other way around. This simple truth carries profound wisdom, especially in a world where the chase often feels like the norm. But here's the twist. When you stop pursuing, when you shift your focus inward and prioritize your own growth, something remarkable happens. You become more magnetic, more desirable. It's as if your silence, your absence, hits the reset button in their minds, and suddenly, they start to crave what they took for granted. They begin to see what they've been missing, and the weight of regret grows heavier with each passing day. They're left longing for your attention, yearning for a connection they didn't value when they had it. But this isn't just about playing games or shifting the power dynamics. It's about reclaiming control of your own life. When you stop giving away your energy to those who don't appreciate it, you naturally start to command respect and admiration. This is the essence of Stoicism, finding strength in detachment, mastering the art of self-control and letting others come to realize your worth without you needing to prove it. So if you're ready to harness this power and make them realize just how much they need you, then get ready. We're about to dive into 9 undeniable truths that will reveal exactly why they only want you when you no longer want them. These aren't just strategies to shift the balance in your favor. They're principles that will help you take control of your own narrative. 1. The power of absence. Let's delve into one of the most potent yet often overlooked forces in human relationships, the power of absence. You might wonder, can simply stepping back really make someone want me more? The answer is an emphatic yes. Let's explore why this seemingly straightforward concept carries such immense weight in the dynamics of attraction and respect. Think about it. When you're always present, always accessible, constantly texting, calling, or showing up, people start to take you for granted. It's like the Wi-Fi you only notice when it's gone. Your constant availability becomes a given, like that last slice of pizza in the fridge that no one thinks twice about until it's no longer there. And that's when things start to shift in an unexpected way. Imagine this scenario. You've always been the one who's available. When they need someone to talk to at 2 a.m., you're the first to pick up. When they want to hang out, you drop everything to be there. But then something changes. You decide it's time to step back and focus on your own life and growth. You stop being that ever-present fixture in their life. Suddenly, the attention they took for granted is gone, and they're left with a void where you used to be. This is where the true power of absence comes into play. Your absence creates a gap, a space in their life that suddenly feels empty without you. And as with all voids, there's an inherent desire to fill them. This space forces them to confront the significance of your presence, to recognize the value you brought into their life that they might have overlooked. They begin to realize how much they miss you and how much they didn't appreciate you when you were always there. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." When you're always around, they think they know everything about you, your availability, your value. But when you step back, they're compelled to reevaluate their assumptions. They start to see you in a new light, appreciating what they once took for granted, and that's when the desire to have you back intensifies. Let's put a modern twist on it. Think of your favorite TV show that ends on a cliffhanger. You're left hanging, desperate to know what happens next. Your absence is that cliffhanger in their life. They start thinking, what am I missing? What's going to happen now? Absence doesn't just make the heart grow fonder. It makes the mind race with possibilities. They begin to imagine all the things you might be doing without them, enjoying life, meeting new people, exploring new opportunities. Suddenly, they're no longer the center of your universe, and that realization hits hard. They want to be part of your story again. But let's clarify something crucial. This isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about self-awareness and self-respect. By stepping back, you're not only giving them the chance to realize your worth, you're reinforcing your own sense of value. Marcus Aurelius, another Stoic great, wisely said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In stepping back and focusing on your own growth, you're not just showing them what they're missing, you're proving to yourself that you deserve better. Think of it this way. In today's fast-paced world, we're all too often chasing validation from others, hoping they'll see our worth. But when you understand the power of absence, you're shifting that dynamic. You're saying, I know my value, and I won't lower myself to convince you of it. By doing so, you command a different kind of respect and admiration. You become the person who's not just desired but revered. To illustrate this with a modern story, consider a man who was always available for his friends, always the first to show up whenever they needed help. They began to take him for granted, assuming he'd always be there. But one day he decided to focus on his own goals, his own happiness. He started saying no more often, choosing to invest time in himself. At first, his absence was barely noticed, but soon his friends began to feel the gap. They realized how much they relied on him, not just for his presence, but for the positivity and strength he brought into their lives. They started reaching out, not out of need, but out of a renewed appreciation for who he was. So I ask you this. Are you ready to embrace the power of absence in your own life? Are you prepared to step back and let others come to the realization of your worth on their own? This isn't about making someone else want you. It's about wanting yourself more, about understanding that your value isn't determined by someone else's recognition of it. By stepping back, you're not just giving others the chance to appreciate you. You're giving yourself the opportunity to grow, to become someone who doesn't need to chase validation because they already know their worth. The lesson is clear. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is to be less available, not to prove a point to others, but to prove something to yourself. As you continue on this journey, remember that your absence isn't just a strategy. It's a reflection of your self-respect. And if they don't realize your value, that's their loss, not yours. Keep focusing on your growth, and let the power of your absence speak for itself. After all, the most profound impact you can have on someone's life often comes from the space you leave behind. 2. The shift in dynamics. All right, let's dive into our next key point. The shift in dynamics. This is where things really start to get interesting, and it's a game changer that can completely alter the balance of power in any relationship. You see, when you've been the one putting in all the effort, always being the first to text, making plans, bending over backward to keep things going, you're essentially the driving force behind the relationship. You're like a one-person cheerleading squad, constantly rooting for them, lifting them up, and doing whatever it takes to keep the connection alive. But what happens when you decide to stop? When you make the conscious choice to shift your focus from them to yourself, everything changes. Imagine you've been in this situation, pouring your energy into someone who doesn't seem to reciprocate with the same enthusiasm. You're always available, always eager to engage, but the moment you decide, you know what? I'm done chasing, the entire dynamic shifts. It's like you flipped a switch in the middle of a game, going from defense to offense, and suddenly, they're the ones trying to keep up. This shift in dynamics is powerful because it forces them to see you differently. No longer are you the one seeking validation. Now they're left wondering what changed and why they no longer have the same hold on you. This is where the wisdom of Stoic philosophy comes into play. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, once said, "It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable." When you stop giving away your power and start reclaiming it, people can't help but notice. You're no longer bending to their will, and that newfound strength and independence make you incredibly intriguing. It's like you've stepped out of the shadows and into the light, and they're finally starting to realize that they've been taking you for granted. Think about it this way. When you're always available and predictable, they know exactly where they stand with you. There's no mystery, no excitement. But when you pull back, when you stop being so easy to read, you create a sense of uncertainty that can be downright irresistible. Suddenly, they're not sure if they still have your full attention, and that doubt can drive them to reevaluate their own behavior. Let's draw a parallel with something we all can relate to, a favorite TV show. Have you ever been so into a series that you couldn't wait for the next episode, only to lose interest when the plot got a little too predictable? You stop watching for a while, but then a friend tells you that the latest episode had an unexpected twist, and suddenly you're hooked again. You start binge watching to catch up, all because the show went from being predictable to surprising. That's exactly what happens when you shift the dynamics in a relationship. You go from being that steady, reliable presence to someone who's a bit more mysterious, a bit harder to pin down, and that's when their interest peaks. There's even a bit of humor in how this plays out. Picture it like this. You've been the person trying to win over your cat's attention, but the cat's been aloof, doing its own thing. Then one day, the roles reverse. Your cat suddenly starts ignoring you, and now you're the one trying to win it back, shaking the catnip and calling out, "Come on, Fluffy, I'm right here." But Fluffy's off somewhere else, and suddenly, you're the one feeling left out. That's exactly how they feel when you shift the dynamics. They go from feeling secure in your attention to suddenly wondering where it went and how they can get it back. But let's be clear. This isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's about recognizing that relationships should be balanced. If you've been the one doing all the heavy lifting, it's time to take a step back and see if they're willing to meet you halfway. And if they do step up, that's fantastic. If not, then you've just made space in your life for someone who will appreciate you without needing a constant reminder. So what does this shift in dynamics really mean for you? It's a powerful reminder that you deserve to be valued not just by others, but by yourself. When you stop chasing after people who don't appreciate your worth, you create an opportunity for the right people to come into your life. Those who see your value and are eager to be part of your journey. This shift is not just about changing the dynamics of a relationship. It's about changing the way you see yourself and the standards you set for how others should treat you. Now, I want to leave you with an open-ended question to ponder. Are you ready to embrace this shift in dynamics and take control of your own narrative? When you stop giving your power away, you open the door to endless possibilities, not just in relationships, but in every aspect of your life. By focusing on your growth, your happiness, and your journey, you set the stage for others to rise to meet you. And those who truly value you will step up to the challenge, while those who don't will fade into the background, making room for something better. The lesson here is simple, yet profound. You're not just shifting the dynamics of your relationships, you're shifting the entire game. By taking a step back and reclaiming your power, you're setting the standard for how you deserve to be treated. And that's a game worth playing. So, as you move forward, keep this in mind. Your worth isn't determined by how much you chase after others, but by how much you value yourself. And when you truly embrace that, you'll find that the dynamics will shift in your favor, bringing you closer to the life and relationships you truly deserve. 3. The allure of independence. True freedom comes when we learn to rely on ourselves, finding strength in our own independence. Epictetus. Let's delve into one of the most powerful yet often underestimated forces in human relationships: the allure of independence. This concept is a game changer, and understanding it is key to realizing why someone suddenly finds you more attractive when you no longer seem to need them. Picture this scenario. For a long time, you've been the one always available, always making the effort, always waiting around for their call. They've become accustomed to your constant presence, perhaps even taken it for granted. But then, something shifts within you. You decide to focus on yourself, your personal growth, your happiness, your goals. You stop waiting by the phone, you quit rearranging your life for them, and instead you start living for yourself. Here's the kicker. Independence is incredibly attractive. It's like flipping a switch in their mind. Suddenly, they see you thriving on your own, and it hits them hard. You're no longer the person who was always there, readily available at a moment's notice. Now you're someone who's building a life, growing and shining without needing their validation. And that's when the tables begin to turn. Marcus Aurelius once said, "He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe." When you live in harmony with yourself, you radiate a sense of peace and confidence that is undeniably attractive. It's this inner strength that pulls people back to you, often when they realize they're no longer the center of your universe. But why does independence have such a magnetic effect? It's because independence signals self-worth. When you're independent, you're telling the world, "I am valuable on my own. I don't need anyone to complete me." And trust me, people notice. They start to see what they've been missing: a person who is whole, self-sufficient, and living life on their own terms. This is the very essence of the allure of independence. Imagine being at a party. There's someone there who's friendly and engaging, but not particularly standing out. Then there's another person, confident and at ease, moving through the crowd without seeking attention, but fully enjoying themselves. Who are you more drawn to? Most likely the latter, right? That's the allure of independence in action. When you embody independence, you become that person who doesn't need to chase after anyone's approval. Instead, you're busy chasing your own dreams, and that's far more compelling. This confidence and self-assurance make others want to be a part of your life, even if they didn't see your value before. Now, let's be clear. Independence isn't about shutting people out or acting aloof. It's about prioritizing yourself, your goals, and your well-being. It's about showing that while you value relationships, you don't rely on them for your happiness. This subtle yet powerful shift in mindset changes how others perceive you. They start to see you as someone who is desirable, not because you're always available, but because you're living a full, rich life that they find intriguing and want to be a part of. And here's where the real magic happens. When you focus on your independence, you naturally attract more positivity and opportunities into your life. You're not sitting around waiting for someone else to give you validation because you've already validated yourself. This is the moment when they start to miss you, to crave the energy and confidence that you now exude. So, what's the takeaway here? Embrace your independence. Cultivate it. Use it as a powerful tool not only to enrich your own life but also to make others realize what they've lost when they took you for granted. Remember, you are your own greatest asset. As you continue to grow and focus on your own path, you'll find that those who once overlooked you will start to see your value with fresh eyes. Independence isn't just about being alone. It's about being strong, self-assured, and whole in yourself. And when you truly embrace this, you'll find that you attract the kind of people and opportunities that enhance your life, rather than diminish it. Consider this. Are you living in a way that prioritizes your own growth and happiness? When you shift your focus inward and start living for yourself, you'll not only transform your own life, but also change the way others perceive and value you. Independence is a quiet strength that speaks volumes, and it's something that no one can take away from you. So continue to build your life with confidence and purpose, knowing that those who are truly meant to be in your life will appreciate and respect your independence. This is the power of living a life centered on your own worth and goals, and it's a path that leads not just to personal fulfillment, but also to relationships that are built on mutual respect and admiration. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time to watch this video on 9 proofs that they only want you when you no longer want them. Stoicism. Your support and engagement mean the world to me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Have you ever experienced a situation where someone's interest in you increased after you began focusing more on yourself? How did that change your perspective on relationships? If you're not sure what to comment, you could start by sharing how the concept of Stoicism has helped you in similar situations, or how you plan to apply these principles in your life. I look forward to reading your insights. 4. The Rarity Effect. Let's dive into the 4th crucial point, the Rarity Effect. This concept is a true game changer in understanding why someone might only realize your value when you're no longer available. People are naturally inclined to desire what is hard to get, and this instinct drives much of our behavior in relationships. It's the same reason that the last slice of pizza becomes irresistible when you know it's almost gone. The moment you make yourself less available, you instantly become more valuable in their eyes, and this shift can change the entire dynamic of how they perceive you. Think about it. You've always been there for them, ready to drop everything and show up whenever they need you. Over time, they get used to this, and your constant presence becomes something they take for granted. But then, something changes. You start to step back. Maybe you focus more on your own life, your own interests. And suddenly, they notice the space you leave behind. It's at this point that they begin to see that your presence wasn't something they should have assumed would always be there. This shift from being a constant fixture in their life to someone who is more scarce makes you rare, and with that rarity comes increased value. Consider the difference between everyday objects and rare collectibles. If you lose a common pen, it's no big deal because it can easily be replaced. But if you lose a rare limited edition item, it's a different story. You feel the loss much more deeply. This is exactly what happens in relationships when you make yourself less available. You go from being an everyday item in their life to a rare and irreplaceable presence, something they suddenly can't stop thinking about. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, once wisely remarked, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." This quote resonates deeply with the idea of the rarity effect. When you recognize that your time and attention are precious, you stop giving them away so easily. And when you start valuing your own time, others will begin to value it as well. Your presence becomes something special, a privilege rather than a given. And this change in perception is incredibly powerful. Let's lighten the mood with a bit of humor. Think back to when you were a kid and how you'd ignore your toys until someone else wanted to play with them. Suddenly, those toys became the most fascinating things in the room, didn't they? Adults aren't much different. We tend to want what we think we might lose, and this is precisely what happens when you create some distance in a relationship. The moment you're not always around, your value skyrockets because they realize they might not have you in their life as much as they used to. But this isn't about playing hard to get or engaging in mind games. It's about genuinely focusing on yourself, your growth, and your happiness. When you're busy living your best life and not constantly available, they can't help but notice your absence. It serves as a powerful reminder of your worth and what they could be missing out on. Picture this. You're always the one texting first, always available for a chat, always saying yes to plans. Now imagine flipping the script. You start dedicating more time to your passions, spending quality time with other friends, and investing in your personal growth. Suddenly, you're not as accessible, and that's when they start to miss you. They wonder why you're not around as much, what's occupying your time, and they begin to crave the connection they once took for granted. The rarity effect is a powerful lesson that sometimes less really is more. By stepping back and not giving so much of yourself, you allow others the opportunity to miss you, to appreciate you, and to understand what they might lose if they don't cherish your presence. This principle doesn't just apply to romantic relationships. It's a valuable strategy in all areas of life. So, here's a little push for you. Don't be afraid to create some space and let others feel the impact of your absence. Focus on yourself, your growth, and your happiness, and let them come to terms with how valuable your presence truly is. Remember, you're not just anyone. You are someone worth missing, someone whose time and attention are precious. By embracing the rarity effect, you're not only enhancing your self-worth but also teaching others to value you in ways they may not have before. 6. If you've made it this far, you're truly embracing the power of self-worth. Drop a comment saying, "I choose my path," to show you're committed to this journey of self-growth and understanding. Stay tuned. There's more wisdom to come. 5. The contrast of confidence. All right, folks, let's dive into a crucial aspect of relationships, the contrast of confidence. This is where things start to get truly fascinating because confidence is one of those qualities that can completely transform how you are perceived by others. When you reach the point where you no longer desire someone, a remarkable shift occurs. You begin to exude a newfound confidence that is impossible for others to ignore. This is the moment when everything changes. Imagine this. You were once deeply involved in someone else's world, perhaps even feeling a bit insecure, constantly seeking their approval or attention. Your thoughts revolved around them, and your actions were often dictated by how they might react. But then, something inside you changes. You make a conscious decision to shift your focus inward, to prioritize your own growth, happiness, and well-being. You let go of the need for their validation, and suddenly it's as if a switch has been flipped. You start walking with a new spring in your step, your smile becomes more genuine, and you begin to carry yourself with a level of self-assuredness that wasn't there before. This transformation doesn't go unnoticed. In fact, it's like a bright spotlight has been turned on, and the person who once took you for granted now sees you in a completely different light. You're no longer the person who was always there, waiting for their attention and approval. Instead, you've become someone who is thriving on your own, and that contrast between who you were when you desired them and who you are now that you don't creates a powerful shift in how they perceive you. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." By choosing to react to their indifference with confidence and self-assurance, you send a clear message. Your worth isn't dependent on their opinion of you. And that, my friends, is incredibly attractive. It's as if they're seeing you for the first time, and what they see is someone who is no longer defined by their presence, but is instead defined by their own strength and independence. Let's add a touch of humor here to lighten the mood. Picture this. You were once a caterpillar, slowly inching along, maybe even overlooked or underestimated. But now you've transformed into a butterfly with vibrant, stunning wings, soaring through the sky while they stand there, dumbfounded, wondering where that little caterpillar went. They're suddenly aware that you're not just any butterfly. You're one that's out of their reach, flying high and free. Confidence, in its purest form, is like a beacon of light in a dark room. It draws people in, sparks curiosity, and leaves them wondering how they could have missed it before. When you stop focusing on them and start dedicating your energy to your own journey, your confidence grows, and with it, their interest in you intensifies. They begin to realize that the person they took for granted has evolved into someone extraordinary, someone who doesn't need them to feel complete. And here's the most powerful part. This confidence doesn't just attract them, it empowers you. You start to view yourself through a new lens, understanding that your worth has never been tied to someone else's opinion or affection. You're valuable simply because of who you are, not because of who wants you or how much they desire you. So, let this be your call to action. Embrace your confidence, release the need to be wanted, and watch how your self-assurance not only transforms you, but also alters how others see you. You are not just a fallback option or a second choice. You are the main event, the person who commands attention because you are no longer seeking validation from others. You're the one they suddenly can't stop thinking about because you're living your life on your own terms, not theirs. Remember this: confidence is contagious. The more you cultivate it within yourself, the more others will be drawn to it. And in the end, you'll discover that the only approval you ever truly needed was your own. So, continue to grow, continue to shine, and let your confidence be the driving force that not only attracts others, but also empowers you to live your best life. This is your journey, and you are in control. Let your confidence be the beacon that guides you forward, attracting positivity, respect, and the kind of relationships that truly enrich your life. 6. The pain of regret. It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. Marcus Aurelius. Now, folks, let's dive into our 6th point, the pain of regret. Have you ever noticed how often people only realize what they had once it's gone? It's the classic, you don't know what you've got till it's gone scenario. But when viewed through the lens of Stoic wisdom, it takes on a deeper significance. Regret is one of the most potent and haunting emotions, a reminder of opportunities missed, moments wasted, and the things we let slip through our fingers. Think about this scenario. You've been there for someone, supporting them, caring for them, always ready to lend a hand. But somehow they didn't fully appreciate it. Maybe they took your kindness for granted, assuming you'd always be there. Then one day, you decide that enough is enough. You step back, redirect your energy towards your own growth, and suddenly, bam, they're struck by the harsh reality of what they've lost. It's like they're taking a walk down memory lane, but instead of it being a pleasant stroll, they're stumbling over every stone, each one a painful reminder of their regret. Regret, my friends, is a powerful force. It creeps up on you, often when you least expect it, whispering relentlessly in your ear, "What have you done?" For the person who let you go, it's not just about missing your presence. It's about the deep, gnawing pain of knowing they had something truly special and let it slip away. Seneca once said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." And here's the twist. That end, the moment they lost you, marks the beginning of their regret. A regret that can be all-consuming. Let's face it, regret can be one of life's most brutal teachers. It forces them to replay all the moments they took you for granted, every time they overlooked your value. It's as if they're caught in a loop, repeatedly coming to the painful realization of what they've lost. And that's when their desire for you intensifies. They start to long for a second chance, craving to make things right, even though they might know deep down that it's too late. The memory of you, once taken for granted, becomes something they can't escape, a constant reminder of their mistake. But here's something important to consider. This isn't about being vindictive or relishing in someone else's pain. It's about recognizing your own worth and understanding that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to step back and allow others to feel the full weight of their actions. By stepping away, you're not just protecting your own well-being, you're giving them the space to see what they've lost, to feel the sting of regret, and perhaps to grow from it. As they grapple with their regret, it becomes a testament to your value, proof that you were worth more than they realized. Now, let's relate this to modern life. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy for people to overlook what truly matters, distracted by the noise and bustle around them. Relationships can become a casualty of this, with people failing to appreciate those who stand by them until it's too late. But when you take a step back, when you decide to prioritize your own growth and happiness, it sends a powerful message. It's a reminder that you are not a commodity to be taken for granted, but a person with your own path and your own worth. And that's when they start to see things clearly, often for the first time. So let me ask you, have you ever felt like you weren't being appreciated? If so, consider this. Sometimes the most impactful move you can make is to step away and let them feel the emptiness left in your wake. It's not about causing pain, but about allowing them to realize the depth of what they had. Regret can be a catalyst for change, a powerful force that pushes people to reassess their actions and their choices. In the end, remember this. Your value isn't diminished by someone else's failure to see it. In fact, when you walk away, you give them the chance to recognize your worth, sometimes for the first time. And who knows, that regret might just be the spark that ignites a new beginning, one where they finally understand that you were always the one they truly needed. Stay strong, focus on your own journey, and let the pain of their regret serve as a reminder of your true value. You are worth every bit of effort, every ounce of appreciation. And if they didn't see that before, well, maybe it's their turn to walk down that difficult path of regret, understanding all too late what they let slip away. Remember, your worth is not dependent on their recognition. It's inherent, and it's powerful. So keep moving forward and let your value shine through in every step you take. 7. The mystery of uncertainty. The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today. You are arranging what is in fortune's control and abandoning what lies in yours. Seneca. Now, let's delve into an intriguing concept that holds significant power in relationships, the mystery of uncertainty. This idea is not just about playing mind games or keeping someone guessing. It's about understanding the inherent human attraction to the unknown. When you create a sense of uncertainty, you introduce an element of mystery, and that can be incredibly compelling. People are naturally drawn to what they can't fully grasp or predict, and this is where the mystery of uncertainty comes into play. Consider this. When everything in a relationship becomes predictable, when someone knows exactly where you stand, how you'll react, and what you'll do next, the excitement starts to fade. It's like watching the same movie over and over again. No matter how good the movie is, the thrill diminishes because there are no surprises left. But when you inject a bit of uncertainty, when you pull back just enough to make them wonder what you're thinking, or what you might do next, you create a sense of intrigue that reignites their interest. They start paying more attention, trying to decipher the signals you're sending, and suddenly, you're no longer just a familiar presence. You become someone they're eager to understand and connect with on a deeper level. Think about how this plays out in modern life. We're all living in a world where information is instant, where answers are just a click away, and where everything seems to be readily available. But in this environment, the things that remain elusive or uncertain are often the ones that capture our attention the most. It's the mystery of what's just out of reach that keeps us engaged, whether it's in a book, a movie, or a relationship. When someone isn't entirely predictable, when they maintain a bit of their own space and independence, it triggers curiosity. People begin to wonder, what's going on in their mind? What do they really want? This curiosity drives deeper engagement and often rekindles the desire that might have been fading. But let's take this idea a step further. The Stoics, with their emphasis on self-control and focus on what lies within our power, understood the value of not laying all your cards on the table at once. As Seneca wisely said, expecting is the greatest impediment to living. In anticipation of tomorrow, it loses today. This applies directly to relationships. When everything is predictable, there's nothing left to discover, nothing to look forward to. But by introducing a bit of uncertainty, not in a manipulative way, but in a way that reflects your own commitment to personal growth and self-reliance, you keep the relationship dynamic and alive. You remind the other person that you are a complex individual with your own thoughts, goals, and aspirations that are not entirely centered around them. Let's bring in a story from everyday life to illustrate this. Imagine someone who always texts back immediately, who always says yes to plans, and who always goes out of their way to make things easy for the other person. While this might seem like a good thing on the surface, over time it can lead to a situation where their presence is taken for granted. Now consider someone who sometimes takes a bit longer to respond, who occasionally prioritizes their own plans, and who doesn't always go along with everything the other person wants. This person is seen as independent, with their own life and priorities, and that makes them more intriguing. The uncertainty of not always knowing how they'll respond or what they're thinking adds an element of excitement and respect to the relationship. So, how does this apply to you? Have you ever noticed that when you step back a bit, when you focus more on your own goals and interests, others seem to take more notice? This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about understanding the balance between being available and being a little mysterious. It's about recognizing that by maintaining a bit of uncertainty, you allow others to see that there is more to you than what's on the surface. You are someone with your own journey, and that makes you not only more interesting but also more valuable. The lesson here is clear. Embrace the mystery of uncertainty in your relationships. Don't feel compelled to always be predictable or to lay everything out in the open. Let there be some things that others have to work to understand, some aspects of your life that remain just a little out of reach. This isn't about manipulation. It's about honoring your own individuality and maintaining a sense of independence that naturally draws others in. As you do this, you'll find that not only do people become more interested in you, but you also become more interested in your own journey, discovering new depths within yourself as you continue to grow and evolve. So, keep some of that mystery alive, and watch how it transforms your relationships and enriches your life. 8. The reversal of roles. Let's talk about something truly transformative in relationships, the reversal of roles. This concept is powerful because it touches on a fundamental shift in how we relate to others, especially when they realize they've lost something valuable. At its core, the reversal of roles occurs when the dynamics in a relationship flip, when the one who was once chasing becomes the one being chased. This change doesn't happen overnight, but it's a result of subtle shifts in behavior, attitude, and self-perception. And when it does happen, it can turn everything around. Think about it like this. At one point, you might have been the one always making the effort, sending the texts, planning the meetups, and going out of your way to show you cared. You were deeply invested in the relationship, perhaps even more than the other person. But then, something changes. Maybe you start to realize your own worth, or you simply grow tired of always being the one to initiate. So, you pull back. You begin to focus more on yourself, on your own life, and less on seeking their attention or approval. This is where the magic happens. As you shift your focus inward, something remarkable starts to unfold. The person who once seemed indifferent to your efforts suddenly begins to notice your absence. They start to wonder why you're not reaching out as much, why you're no longer as available, and why you seem to be flourishing without them. This creates a new dynamic, where they are now the ones feeling the need to connect with you, to reestablish the relationship that they once took for granted. It's like a seesaw that has finally tipped in the other direction. The energy and attention you once poured into them are now being directed inward, and that shift is not only noticeable, it's compelling. This concept is closely tied to a famous quote by the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. By reacting to the realization that you deserve better with a calm and confident withdrawal, you're not just reacting, you are redefining the terms of the relationship. You're showing that your self-worth isn't dependent on their validation. And that, my friends, is incredibly attractive. It's a subtle but powerful way of reclaiming your power, of shifting the dynamic so that you're no longer in the role of the pursuer, but rather the one who is pursued. Let's bring this idea into a more modern context with a relatable story. Imagine you're in a work environment where you've been consistently going above and beyond, always volunteering for extra tasks, always staying late, always doing your best to impress your boss. At first, it seems like your efforts are paying off, but over time, you start to feel like your contributions are being taken for granted. No one seems to notice how much you're doing, and you're not getting the recognition you deserve. So, you decide to dial it back. You start focusing on doing your job well, but you no longer go out of your way to seek approval. You stop volunteering for extra tasks and instead focus on your own professional growth. What happens next is fascinating. Suddenly, your boss and colleagues begin to notice your absence. They start to realize how much they relied on you, how valuable your contributions were. And before you know it, they're the ones trying to get your attention, asking for your input, and seeking your approval. The roles have reversed, and now you're in a position of strength. You didn't have to demand respect or recognition. You earned it by withdrawing and letting them feel the impact of your absence. In relationships, this reversal of roles can be incredibly empowering. It's a reminder that you don't need to constantly chase after others to be valued. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to step back and let others come to you. This doesn't mean playing hard to get or engaging in manipulative tactics. Instead, it's about recognizing your own worth and not being afraid to let others see it by shifting the focus away from them and back to yourself. So how does this apply to your life? Have you ever been in a situation where you felt like you were doing all the work in a relationship, only to have it go unnoticed? If so, consider this. By shifting your focus and allowing the roles to reverse, you can change the dynamic without saying a word. It's about letting go of the need to prove your value and instead living in a way that shows your value. As the dynamics shift, you'll find that people are naturally drawn to your newfound confidence and self-assuredness. They'll start to see you in a different light, one where you're no longer the one who is chasing, but the one who is being pursued. The lesson here is simple, yet profound. The reversal of roles isn't just about changing the way others see you. It's about changing the way you see yourself. It's about recognizing that your value doesn't diminish just because someone else doesn't see it right away. When you focus on your own growth and well-being, you naturally create an environment where others begin to see your worth as well. So, embrace the shift. Let the roles reverse. And watch as your relationships transform in ways you never expected. Remember, you have the power to redefine any relationship by simply choosing to see yourself as valuable, worthy, and deserving of being pursued. 9. The fear of finality. It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. Marcus Aurelius. Let's take a deep dive into one of the most powerful and often overlooked emotions that influence relationships: the fear of finality. This fear isn't just about losing someone. It's the anxiety that sets in when someone realizes that a relationship might truly be over for good. Finality carries a certain weight, an irrevocability that forces people to confront their choices and the consequences of those choices. It's when they see the door closing for good that the desire to keep it open intensifies, and this is often when they realize just how much they want what they've lost. Have you ever noticed how people often don't appreciate what they have until it's on the verge of slipping away? This is because finality, the idea that something could be gone forever, triggers a deep-rooted fear within us. It's the moment when they suddenly realize with startling clarity that you might actually be moving on, that there's no going back. It's as if the safety net they took for granted disappears, and they are left facing the cold truth. They never thought you'd really leave, and now that you are, they feel the weight of that finality in full force. In relationships, this fear of finality often brings people to a stark realization. When someone feels like they've lost you for good, it's not just about the immediate loss. It's about all the opportunities, comfort, and connection they squandered. There's a famous quote from the Stoic philosopher Seneca that captures this perfectly. It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. When someone fears that you're gone for good, they begin to replay all the moments they took for granted, all the time they wasted, and it hits them that they didn't value you when they had the chance. The regret is compounded by the finality of the situation, and that realization often makes them want you even more than before. Think about this in the context of modern life. In an age of instant gratification, where we are accustomed to getting what we want whenever we want, the fear of finality is especially impactful. When something feels permanent, when it's truly out of reach, it suddenly becomes more desirable. It's like the classic scenario of wanting what you can't have. But this isn't just about playing games. It's about the psychological impact of knowing that something is gone for good. It makes people reconsider their priorities and actions, often too late. When you take control of your life, focus on your growth, and walk away from a situation where you aren't appreciated, you create the conditions for this fear of finality to take hold. Now, let's expand on this idea with a real-life scenario. Imagine you've been in a relationship where you're the one putting in all the effort. You're always there, always showing up, and making sacrifices. But the other person never seems to fully reciprocate. They may even take you for granted, assuming you'll always be there no matter what. But then something shifts. You begin to see your own worth, and you make the difficult decision to step away, to focus on yourself and stop trying to make the relationship work. At first, they may not notice, or they might think it's temporary. But as time goes on, they start to realize that you're serious, that you're not coming back. It's at this point that the fear of finality sets in. Suddenly, they're confronted with the reality that you're moving on. This fear can be paralyzing, forcing them to reflect on all the ways they failed to appreciate you. It's no longer about minor disagreements or misunderstandings. It's about the fact that they've lost something they can't easily replace. And that's when they start to want you more than ever. The finality of the situation forces them to see what they had. And in many cases, they'll try to win you back, desperate to undo what feels like a permanent loss. But here's the key. This isn't about letting someone back into your life just because they suddenly realize your value. It's about recognizing that sometimes walking away is the most powerful thing you can do for yourself. In Stoicism, there's a fundamental lesson about accepting what we cannot control. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that the obstacles we face can become the very thing that helps us grow. In relationships, the fear of finality that others experience when you leave isn't your burden to carry. It's theirs. You've moved on, you've grown, and the fact that they are only now realizing your worth is a reflection of their own journey, not yours. So how does this idea of the fear of finality apply to you? Have you ever felt like someone didn't appreciate you until you decided to walk away? If so, consider this. By focusing on yourself and your own well-being, you allow others to confront the reality of their choices. The fear of finality is a powerful motivator, but it's not your job to be the one who constantly prevents them from feeling it. Sometimes letting someone experience that fear is the only way they can grow and understand the gravity of their actions. In conclusion, the fear of finality can bring clarity to relationships. but it's also a reminder of your own strength. You're not defined by someone else's sudden desire to keep you when you no longer want them. You're defined by your ability to walk away, to focus on your growth, and to live a life that honors your own worth. When they fear losing you for good, it's a testament to the value you've always had. Let that be the lesson. You were always worth it, and now, through their fear of finality, they finally see it. But whether they see it or not, your path forward is yours to shape. And that is the true power of embracing the fear of finality. As we bring this discussion to a close, it's important to recognize the profound impact that these principles, whether it's the power of absence, the shift in dynamics, the allure of independence, or the fear of finality, can have on your personal growth and happiness. These ideas are not just strategies to navigate relationships. They are blueprints for living a life that is deeply aligned with your own sense of worth and self-respect. By embracing these Stoic teachings, you're not merely shifting how others perceive you. You're transforming your inner world, setting the stage for a life where you are in control of your own narrative. Think about the power of absence, for instance. When you step back and create space, you allow others to confront the void you leave behind. This is not about manipulation. It's about giving yourself the chance to focus on your own growth, while others come to terms with the reality of what they've lost. The shift in dynamics teaches us that when you stop chasing after validation from others, you open up new possibilities for relationships that are based on mutual respect and admiration. Independence, as we've discussed, is a quiet strength that speaks volumes. It's about living for yourself, prioritizing your own goals, and letting others be drawn to the confidence and self-assuredness that naturally emanate from you. And then there's the fear of finality, a powerful force that often brings clarity to both you and those around you. When someone realizes that you might truly be gone for good, it forces them to confront their actions and their loss. But remember, this isn't about waiting for someone to regret losing you. It's about recognizing your own strength and walking away, focusing on your journey, and living a life that honors your worth. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The obstacles you face, including the tough decisions to let go or walk away, are the very things that help you grow and become stronger. So, as you reflect on everything we've discussed today, I encourage you to think about how these principles can be applied to your daily life. How can you start stepping back and focusing more on your own growth? How can you embrace your independence and allow others to appreciate your worth? These are not just rhetorical questions, they're calls to action. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Have you noticed how the dynamics in your relationships change when you focus on yourself? Have you ever experienced the power of absence or the fear of finality in your life? Share your stories in the comments below, because your journey might just inspire someone else to take the steps they need towards their own growth. Remember, the journey of self-mastery and personal growth is an ongoing process, one that requires constant reflection and action. By integrating these Stoic principles into your life, you're not only cultivating a stronger, more confident version of yourself, but also setting a standard for how you deserve to be treated by others. Your value is not determined by someone else's recognition. It's inherent, grounded in the strength and confidence you build from within. As you move forward, keep these truths close to your heart. You are deserving of respect, love, and admiration, but it starts with how you treat yourself. By taking control of your narrative and focusing on your own growth, you create a life that reflects your true worth. So, continue to grow, continue to shine, and let your journey be a testament to the power of Stoic wisdom in action. Thank you for joining me today on Stoic in Your Life. I look forward to hearing your thoughts and seeing how these principles impact your journey. Until next time, stay strong, stay focused, and remember, your value is yours to define.